today, so we're also able to add more movies. So we're able to add not only more in-game movies, but also more pre-rendered cinematics, which I'm sure will excite everybody, including myself. So the example of the pre-rendered movie that we're adding is a movie about Sarah Kerrigan and her origins. So it's a cinematic that normally I wouldn't show people because I don't like to give away stuff in the story, but it's a really cool cinematic because the way that it comes online within the game itself, it's kind of a flashback. So for all the fans of, or for all the new players of the Starcraft universe, it kind of catches them up on Sarah Kerrigan's origins in a really cool way. You know, we actually had a mission in the first Starcraft where Kerrigan got left behind by Arcturus Minx, and it was a very dramatic moment within it, but we were never able to really show it cinematically. The only thing we had available to us was just kind of voiceover in the mission itself. So we decided that'd be a really awesome moment to do a full-blown pre-rendered cinematic. So we don't have it done today, so I can't show it to you. However, what I thought would be really cool to show you guys behind the scenes of our process of how we develop these cinematics. So one of the first things that we do when we develop a cinematic is we do a storyboard animatic, where we kind of do these pencil drawing storyboards, and we lay it down to voiceover, temporary voiceover, and to music, just to kind of get a sense of how this pre-rendered cinematic will play out. And then a bunch of us sit in a room and we kind of argue back and forth, and we iterate on it a lot, because at the storyboard stage, it's much easier to change things than it is once we've actually made fully 3D realized models. So what I'm going to show you today is actually the completed version of that storyboard animatic before it goes into cinematic production. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. Hold on. Wait for it. All right. Behind the scenes things. All right. So roll the first movie.
Belay that order. We're moving out.
What? You're not just gonna leave?
All ships prepare to move away from Tarsonis on my mark.
Cinematic at the level of the Lich King intro cinematic, and what our guys in BlizzCon are going to be able to do with that. So I think it's going to be pretty amazing what's still done. All right, but there's more. Okay, so I'm going to talk just a little bit about, again, what this choice allowed us to do is in the future campaigns, it also allowed us to approach things pretty differently, since we're going to treat them again as separate products. So within the Terran campaign, you're kind of like a mercenary leader, you're taking jobs for money, you're buying technology, so that's kind of how the mechanics work within that one. But when you go to the next campaign, it's going to be really different. During the Zerg campaign, it's going to have a lot more to do with Kerrigan and making her powerful. It kind of has more of an RPG sort of feel to it. And then Legacy of the Void, there's going to be a lot more kind of diplomacy sort of gameplay. So, kind of those meta game mechanics are going to be completely different within each campaign. So I already went ahead and skipped ahead of my PowerPoint, so I'm going to move on past that. Okay, so another thing that we added was even though you're primarily playing the Terran campaign, we did want to add the ability to play at least one of the races a little bit. So we're adding like a Protoss mini campaign from within, the Terran campaign product. So there's a kind of the storyline that weaves through all of them that has to do with Zeratul and the Protoss. So there's going to be like just a few missions where you play as Zeratul and, kind of learn more about the greater threat. Because even though each of the products deal, almost entirely with the main character and deal with that race, there is something that kind of arcs through all three. There is kind of a greater threat and a reason why a lot of things that are happening in each campaign happen. So we're kind of telling that through Zeratul and his campaign. So, and this is, again, just kind of a good way to allow the players, even though, just kind of mix things up a little bit, because even though we have lots of great campaign gimmicks and lots of units that you might not even have seen during multiplayer for the Terrans, we still want to have you get kind of a taste of one of the other races. So, you kind of have that ability. And that's it. I'm just kidding. There's actually one more thing. This is just my greedy way of getting an extra applause out of you all. So the other thing that I'm going to show you, which is the coolest thing of this entire panel, and I hope no one left early, because we decided that we're going to show you a pre-rendered cinematic that no one has ever seen before in the world. This is, again, just kind of my way of, rather than putting the opening ceremonies where Mike gets all the credit, I get to kind of beef up my panel by introducing cool cinematic footage. So just want to thank the cinematic department for letting me do this. And the cinematic I'm going to show you is actually is just a 1 minute portion of it. It's actually a cinematic about 4 minutes long, so I'm only going to show you 1 minute from that 4 minute cinematic. And it's part of the actual in-game intro for StarCraft.